Good morning, gentlemen. Active Aussie here, 9:30 a.m. Saturday morning. I tried to make the video yesterday in regard to the so-called MGTOW community and racism, and it was about 7 minutes long, but I felt it wasn't polished enough and concise enough, so I'm going to try and do another take of that, and I'll upload it a bit later. Basically, I just wanted to talk about how racism is often just used as like a technique, and I also wanted to touch on simping in other cultures. Like in a lot of videos you hear guys talking about simping, but it's usually just like simping in the UK or the USA, but I just wonder if any of you guys have experience in regard to simps in other cultures. And some of the worst simping I've seen in my life is from Chinese men, and some of the simping that I've seen with them is just pathetic. And I'm not saying that all Asian guys are simps. I've met a few guys from Taiwan who are like red-pilled as fuck, but some of the simping that goes on with the blue-pilled Asian guys is just totally pathetic. It's the worst type of woman-worshipping nonsense. Anyway, I digress. I'll talk about that later. Last night I watched the whole video that MGTOW Infinium uploaded yesterday, or whatever time it was, in the USA, and I found that video to be very interesting. And he was talking in part of the video about, you could say, some childhood trauma he experienced when he suffered abuse at the hands of a tutor. You could say that was a type of psychological abuse, and also how he had a problem with eating eggs when he was younger, like scrambled eggs, and he pointed out how some people might think that is a trivial issue that wouldn't really affect your life, but later on he recognised how it affected him, and he pointed out that he was like sort of ridiculed by his father because he wore glasses, and there were a few other things as well. But that got me thinking to how, as men, when we get older, we might have some trauma in our life, but that trauma could be connected to some sort of childhood experience we may have had. And I'm just going to talk about something quite personal in regard to myself. When I was in my early 20s, or it would have started from late teenage years, like about 18, 19, I was very, you could say, socially anxious, and I had a problem with social anxiety, and this sort of went on into my early 20s, and I was quite confused as to why I was like feeling this way, and I was trying to analyse my life and work out what could cause me to feel like this, and why am I having this lack of confidence and this social anxiety. And I was starting to think about back when I was very young, like between about 6 and 12 years old. And the one thing I can remember is that I've always gone to Catholic education, to private Catholic Christian schools, a primary school, and I went to a Christian Brothers high school here in Brisbane. And when I was in primary school, we had the so-called lay teachers who were not connected with the church, but there were also a lot of priests and nuns involved with the school, and some of the nuns were actually teachers, and some of them taught me. And when I was in like grade 2 and 3, some of these nuns were extremely strict, and what they would do is, as a punishment, they would put us young students into like very large sort of potato sacks, and then they had like a type of twine or some sort of small rope, and they would tie the top of the bag shut and just leave us in there for a few minutes. And at the time, I remembered that I found this to be very scary, and I didn't talk to my mother about it till I was in my 30s, and my mother said, that's quite shocking, and I never knew about this, and if I had known, I would have certainly done something about it. But it wasn't just me, it was the nuns doing this to a lot of the young kids. And it sort of reminds me of, in like some parts of the USA, the so-called Bible Belt, they have these sort of schools where there's like hellfire teaching, and they have something called hell houses, I think. Maybe some of you USA guys listening might have some sort of knowledge and experience in regard to this, but these nuns would tell the young primary school kids that if they keep being naughty, they're going to go to hell, and you'll get burned up by the devil and put in a little box, and it'll be put onto a cavity in a brick wall. And these are disgusting, horrible, terrible things to be telling 6 to 8 year olds, 6 to 10 year olds, but this is what the nuns used to do. And this is one reason why I think that Christianity and Catholicism in particular can be very dangerous. Like, we hear about radical Islam, but I feel that radical Christians can be just as dangerous. And guys like myself have spoken before, obviously, about the Christian chameleon. So when guys get older, they are subject to this type of brainwashing indoctrination as well within the church, where they're told, oh, you must worship women, you should man up and marry a single mother, it's your duty to do this or your duty to do that. So it's one reason why I think I became an atheist for quite a while. And I'm not saying that all people within the church are terrible people. There are some good people in the church, and they do a lot of great community work. But we have to look at the downsides in regard to this as well. So just wondering if any of you guys have had this feeling of you've developed a certain problem within your life, and you have traced it back to an event that happened when you were younger that caused you a certain degree of trauma. It's just that video by MGTOW Infinium made me think quite a lot, and some of his life experiences are quite similar to mine, but obviously I'm here in Australia. But men's problems are not really discussed so often nowadays, and I think it's important to talk about these things, and we need to get some of our problems and experiences out there in the open, and we can learn from each other. That's about all I want to say. Got a nice day without any rain, so it's lifted my mood a little bit. That's all for now, and hopefully I can talk to you again soon.